Yeah. Okay.
We would be honored.
All right. So yeah. Hey everyone, welcome to the Twitch stream. Basically, yeah, we're back in action doing some Twitch streams for CW Studios. So yeah, really looking forward to this, and hopefully we can do some pretty cool stuff. So I think what we're going to kind of do for this for these streams for now is just work on like a project and kind of hopefully try and follow that through from start to finish and go through that whole process, which I think would be pretty cool. And along the way, you know, if you guys are working on things and have stuff that you'd like to share and show, then yeah, potentially we can do some feedback and stuff in the stream as well. But mostly it will just be like I guess like a big giant tutorial where you can kind of watch all the streams and follow along. Yeah, it's been something we've kind of been planning for a while, and really excited to kind of get this up and running. I think that yeah, obviously because of all the virus stuff going around, the school at CW Studios kind of like is shut down. Everyone's watching classes from home, so I guess that's kind of helped us get a bit more online and stuff. So I guess this kind of like culminates nicely together where we can do some stuff on Twitch as well, which is obviously open to everyone, not just our CW Studios Flinders University students. So if you're not in the course, this gives you a really good insight into kind of what you get to see in classes and types of projects that you can do and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, without further ado, let's just kind of get into what we're going to do and kind of go from there. So what I'm going to bring up first of all is like, I'm not specifically going to use this, but I'm going to just kind of like leverage off this kind of pitch template, which is something that we kind of use for like a number of classes and things. So yeah, I'll just start using this and base kind of like the demo off of this as a starting point. All right. So if you're going to do a project, come up with something, it's really good to kind of like plan it out a little bit. Don't just start kind of going in and just you know, randomly painting thumbnails or whatever. Try and like plan a little bit more. So I think whenever I'm teaching classes or trying to help students get better at doing this, just planning things out a little bit better is just always makes things a lot easier. And most of the time the plan is to gather kind of reference. Is to get reference so you kind of like know where you are kind of going with things. So yeah. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to drag this off into another window, another screen, just so we've got this here. Sorry guys, just let me sort this out a little bit. And then I've got a folder with some references, but before we get into that, okay, so I'm going to paint a few. We're just going to start with like some thumbnails and things, right? And basically I'm going to go through this. So we're going to go through that whole process, if I didn't bring this up, which is essentially, you know, what I kind of use to do this, I guess. So we're going to go through creating thumbnails, designing out the kind of elements that we're going to use within the painting. Then probably we're going to go into like sculpting in 3D code and going into Blender, and yeah, I'm just going to show that whole process and then kind of back into Photoshop and painting. So yeah, we're going to have that whole process, cover everything from start to finish. So hopefully you guys will be able to like kind of watch the streams even if you're not live, but see the content, you know, across like 10 or 12 weeks or however long this is going to kind of take. And I want to really do this within within the stream. So I'm going to try and like, it's really annoying when you see demos and they're kind of like done part in the demo and part off camera, and then it's like, oh, I just did these 18 things that aren't very difficult. And when you're kind of watching it, you're like, oh, no, that really was difficult, and I don't know what you did there. So I'm going to try and do it all within the stream, and kind of solve problems, work out issues as we go along. So I'm actually going to try something fairly ambitious in Blender, and probably like kind of learning that along with you guys. So I think that could be pretty cool, like throughout the stream. So yeah, so just basing it basically off this like image here in terms of like that process of what I'm going to do. So yeah, so if we go back into Photoshop, what I want to do is I'm just kind of making a mask here that I'm just going to lock. Might not that just yet, but I'm just going to make this canvas a little bit bigger. Right, so use the crop tool, and you can actually drag out more canvas space, which is really cool. And now I'm just going to lock this layer here. And what I'm going to do is start just working out a bit of this brief. So, but I'm just going to like type it up. So just change that to like a smaller font here. All right. So whatever, just kind of making so you guys can see this. So let's go in a nutshell. So what is this thing kind of in a nutshell? Now, we don't want 15 lines of stuff. We just want, very quick description of what we're going to kind of be doing, right? So let's work on that. So in a nutshell, I'm going to do Egypt cross with medieval. And oh, let's go. All right. Little known fact is you can check spelling in Photoshop. You just right click on the text and you can check spelling. Wow, that's exciting. But hopefully that's at least one thing you're going to learn from the Twitch stream today. So in a nutshell, I'm going to do Egypt versus medieval. So I've got some reference and I want to do something. I'm just going to paint like castles. Yep, I love painting castles. So let's just embrace that. Eh? Let's embrace it and do something. Story idea. So once again, I haven't thought of any of this stuff. All I've really done is got some reference. So I'm just gonna just come up with something like really, really kind of basic. So alternate universe where medieval culture and Egyptian culture coexist. Let's go with Thrones, which sort of sometimes it kind of is a bit. Thrones set in Egypt, right? So this is kind of the nice spelling. All right, this is just kind of like the vibe that we're going with. So a bit of a story, and like as I go through and explore different stuff, then it might this is going to kind of like expand, right? So we're going to kind of keep working on this. What else do we want to do? Unique point of interest. I don't necessarily know what this is yet. Let's like kind of go with it. And sometimes, like for example, if you're doing characters and stuff, you might have like antagonists, main character. So if anyone who's following along wants to do characters and stuff, like totally fine, right? So maybe something you can do is like character with an environment and try that whole kind of project. Yeah, that could be good. So yeah. And maybe sort of visual style, like this could be cool. So I'm going to do my visual style as like realistic, but some of you guys might want to do like something like it's Pixar, DreamWorks, could be more kind of like trying to think of, like, you know, a Sunset Overdrive, where it's more of a kind of like cartoony, but, you know, Fortnite, I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, there's all sorts of different styles that you can kind of do. Yeah, yep. So, does that make sense? So you kind of choose what you want to do, and then the next kind of step that I want that's the most important one is kind of gathering reference, right? So I'm just going to put this in here just so you guys can like follow along. Gather ref, all right? Gather ref, and then the other thing they want to do is like deliverables. All right, so deliverables really important. So we're going to have three thumbnails, multiple design callouts, what else? Then we're going to get into 3D sculpts, blend a scene, final Photoshop painting. Yeah. So already I can tell that, like, if I'm doing, you know, 2 hours per stream, this is going to take some time because some of this stuff is going to kind of take a while, and we can kind of flesh this out as much as possible. But yeah, let's just start having a look at some of the reference. So we just go here.
We would be honored.
Right, so I started collecting like a bunch of reference here. All sorts of different stuff. Some reference is informing various bits and pieces. Like, for example, this might be one that's more kind of color, you know, more kind of color and mood when we get to that point. I guess as well, what I like to do is a couple of quick little sketches and things. So that's what I'm going to kind of do now. I think, like, looking at some of this reference, doing some sketches, coming up with some ideas, and then just kind of fleshing out a little bit. So yeah, but it is really important, like, I think for all of you guys, if you're gonna, you know, do a little project yourself, just really make sure you gather that reference and keep it at the front of mind. Really use it and use it to your advantage. So I've got some stuff here with some Egyptian kind of traits, and I've got some stuff that's medieval castles and all of that kind of thing. So for a bit, I'm just gonna like kind of draw and sketch around and try to come up with like a few ideas, you know, that we can kind of do. So let's just start. Let's just get happening. So to be honest, I don't even know what these brushes are and whatnot, but anyway, we'll just just show some brushes. So I'm just gonna start by sketching around some ideas. These kind of like these sort of shapes here, right? These swoopy, swooshy, like C-curve shapes are excellent to define kind of space. I'm also starting out with like a little bit of ellipse and things, just to help give a sense of space, right? So if I just draw just a line here, you know, we don't really know what's going on anywhere, and if I start drawing other bits and pieces and stuff, right, it's you need to kind of define this ground plane really early on. So there's some of the marks that I'm making that really kind of like help. So yeah, and you can see, so this is, if I've got a piece of paper, this is literally just like stuff I'll kind of be like jotting down just on like post-it notes. So big castle stuff, and I'm thinking where we can, maybe it's more like triangular kind of base shape, so it does have that kind of Egyptian feel to it. Maybe that there. Get rid of this other one so I can see my reference a little bit better. So some of these longer, flatter shapes, trees. Right. This normally I'll do this like process just for myself, no one else really needs to see this. We're just coming up with like sort of ideas. So maybe there's like some ruined bits and pieces here. Maybe there could be some sort of central water lake thing with stone stuff. just looking at reference, kind of coming up with ideas for things. Right, just trying to describe space and shape, right, with a little bit of perspective. So one of the really big things that I'm thinking about, if we've got kind of, I mean, it's sort of the ground plane, not necessarily the horizon line, but if we kind of think that the horizon line is kind of, here, so kind of our eye level, everything above the horizon line, we won't be able to see the top of, so these angles will be slightly, this way. Does that sort of make sense? So if I draw these off in perspective, they're kind of the vanishing points are over here. Then as I go below the horizon line, we can see the tops of everything, right? So yeah, so if I kind of like draw a box in here, right? We can see we can see the bottom, the top of everything. Sorry, sorry. Just seeing that notes that hopefully the sounds okay on the stream. Let us know. We're just kind of setting this up. Got a bit of new kind of kit in here and stuff. So yeah, if there's any drums or things, let us know. Sound, screen, whatever the case may be. Yeah, you can also see a few new followers. That's great. So yeah, very cool. We'll try and work on the tech stuff as we go along. But yeah, so you get the point. So it's kind of like in our bootcamp classes, teaching a lot of perspective things at the moment, and even just at this very early stage, really thinking about like above the horizon line, below the horizon line, and even just when I'm like, even when I am just sketching around, I'm thinking about that concept. I hope that kind of makes sense to everyone. And really, you should just check out like the Scott Robertson YouTube stuff. That'll tell you everything you need to know about perspective in a kind of crash course. But yeah, so even with these ones, I'm really trying to pay attention to that kind of perspective. The other things I'm really like trying to pay attention to is kind of like compositional elements. So these big shapes, really leading us through the composition, right? And having kind of like overlaps and things, right? Overlaps will also give us depth. So whenever we're drawing two things, kind of next to each other, like don't do it like this, right? You want to do it like, you want to do this. You know what I mean? Because then basically this small square relates to this bigger rectangle, right? And it also gives us depth. So can you guys see how that gives it depth? And that'll help with depth and perspective, right? So so that's super powerful, is like overlapping shapes. Talk about that kind of all the time. So yeah, they're just some things I'm thinking about kind of like compositionally, even just in a sketch like this, right? So I'm just going to do another one. And yeah, just kind of like rip off the same kind of stuff. So maybe this one a bit of a lower kind of composition, right? Always thinking about those kind of like curves, really using them to lead the eye around the composition, and you can see like you can see that even just through these few little scribbly strokes, we've almost got a sense of scale. We've almost got a sense of depth just through those things. It's about kind of just knowing how to control really these big ground shapes, yeah, and kind of some of the angles that you're sort of drawing. Yeah, maybe. Got like buildings and stuff, so yeah. we're going to kind of model all these things up in Blender and that. So yep, it's going to be a big learning curve. I'm by no means a Blender master, but I'm kind of getting into it and stuff. So I think it's pretty fun. So yeah, just sort of like sharing some of those techniques. Once again, just in the reference. Maybe in this one we do actually have some water. So this could all be kind of water here. We've got some big kind of statues. And I really want to make sure, I want to have like, yeah, it feel medieval as well, right? It has some of the archway, bridges, maybe. Nothing of ideas. We've got some knights on horses and things. There's trees. And maybe these are like palm trees, you know, so that we really get that kind of like Egyptian sort of feeling as well. Yep, so just roughing out these ideas. City, thing, building. Alright, so once again, you know, these are just those like sort of post-it note ideas. But once again, it's like we can't see the top of any of these buildings. We can see the top of this stuff down here, right? So, yeah, can't see the top of this stuff. See the top of this horizon line kind of along here. Thinking that the vanishing points are a long way off the page, right? I'm not really twisting. I'm not twisting much of this stuff around yet. I'm just thinking about flat shapes, you know, and if we want to kind of get more into perspective and stuff later, like we can. So for example, if I just open this up, right, so like this here, you know how, paste this in here, yep. Right, if I just paste this in here, you know, we can see the sides of these buildings and stuff, but in here I'm just thinking about flat, because we're going to just develop this, get it into 3D, just try not to overcomplicate things. You know, if you want to start with a bit of perspective and that, you can. Pushing that, once again, you know, just use the reference. But for right now, I'm just kind of thinking about how I'm playing with the shapes and the overlap and just getting these kind of like interesting compositions. Yeah. So we're going to keep with the same theme, do like another one. Go. So these are all rough shapes, rough ideas. Not worrying too much about like, you know, sort of angles and things, just because I know that once we kind of get this into Blender and stuff, that's when it can really push around and play with these things like a lot. Cool. I'm just wondering if I move this mic a little bit closer as well, if that will help make it sound a little bit louder. Maybe think about some cloud shapes as well that are kind of like really helping with the composition too. Just thinking, I like the idea of this stuff being on some water, being down by the River Nile kind of thing. yeah, feel free to ask any questions at all. We'll try and cover those. So I've got like Nathan Elmer in here as well with me. Is kind of like moderating all the chat. So yeah, he'll be able to answer plenty of questions, and I'm happy to answer questions as well. So just trying to shorthand some of these things. Let's get our horse guys back. Amazing drawing of horses. Thought all that about later. But once again, you get the idea. I find that this helps me like stress about it less. Just kind of like you just go like, hey, there's these guys down here, you know, whatever. They look like crap. But like it doesn't matter at the start. It's kind of, yeah, it's fine. Sometimes if I don't put them in, I just kind of like forget about them. There's some other bits planned and stuff here. Just that maybe kind of like pushes the scale of things. Maybe we have like some boats and stuff, not sure. Just look at the reference. But there we go. Kind of got three thumbnails. They're kind of heading in the right direction. Right? They're all similar. You can see as I kind of went along, I started to get even just some of these architectural shapes a bit more sorted. I feel like at the moment they're probably like a bit, just need a little bit more kind of medieval kind of vibe. More kind of towers and stuff. But once again, what I'm going to do is like, going to kind of design this as we go along, right? So I'm going to get into shapes and design. So these thumbnails are really, they're just like a real rough basis of what the kind of plan is. So the next bit that I'm going to do is, sorry for jumping around all these layers. The next bit I'm going to do is just kind of like paint these up with value, right? Just so things are a little bit kind of clearer. So this is a really simple way to just start getting things moving in the right direction. So I've got a bit of a texture brush here, right, which is kind of cool. But yeah, I'm just going to start blocking in kind of values. So the trick to sort of value stuff is that the darker it is, it'll kind of come forward, right? And the lighter it is, the more like it'll kind of recede. Just when you're kind of like playing around with values. And some of the stuff that I like to do, is this standard Photoshop brushes? No, not really. It's, you know, the first place that you guys can start with the Photoshop stuff is just go to onepixelbrush.com. Nathan, if you want to just write that in the chat, that'd be cool. If you go to like onepixelbrush.com, then you can go to the tutorials section, and that has the Jamie Jones brushes there, and Shadi Safidi brushes as well. And that's a great place just to get a start with these kind of brushes. Yeah, if you don't know where they are, or how to kind of find them. So yeah. Because yeah, this one I'm using is not. But like, you know, I can use any with a bit of texture, sort of, that also has like kind of let me show you what I mean. Window brush settings, right? So I want something that's got the shape dynamics turned on and set to pen pressure. and the transfer set to pen pressure. And that means the harder I press, the darker it gets. And the lighter I press, the lighter and thinner the line gets. So so they're good ones to they're good settings to have on. Yeah. So yeah, without going into too much detail about the brushes, like just that Shadi Safidi, Jamie Jones one's great. Maybe thinking that this is some sort. Maybe not. Maybe I'll just make this like the other ones a bit, where it's just a body of water. Yeah, and these, definitely. There's a question in the stream. I can see, like, we're going to put these up on YouTube as well, right? So, yeah, we want to just try and create as much content for you guys as we can, and hopefully over time we'll do some like artist interviews. Maybe sort of like bringing back kind of the other. What did we call that before? The other thing we were doing on Twitch before with myself and Tim, the art show, just kind of like doing stuff like that, just trying to do a bit more kind of like online content in general for everyone, so you guys can learn more art stuff. Yeah. So so and then what I do is like I just kind of turn this layer down. So this is a good one if you're kind of like freaking out a bit about painting. then this is a good way that you can see the shapes that I'd kind of use. But anyway, probably that one's more of a tower. Yeah, we're hoping we'll get some more of the teachers involved and stuff. I think right now it's like really busy during the semester, so it's kind of people are a bit tight for time. But hopefully over time we can get more of the instructors involved and things like that. More stuff on Twitch and things. That's the idea. Yeah, Jade says I'm the busiest of them all. That's true, but I also live at CDW Studios, so it's okay. I can do lots of stuff. So you guys kind of seeing how you can just take this stuff, just be patient, just build up the shapes, build up these values. Right, just using my sketch as a base. I haven't worked out the design of this stuff yet, so that's going to be the bit that takes the time. But yeah, I just keep slowly getting rid of that sketch, right? And it just kind of magically turns into a painting. Yeah, it can be a bit scary, yeah, but once again, just get these guys, and like maybe over time, like might get more characters in there and stuff as well. There's like quite a few.
We would be honored if you
not really worrying too much about forms just yet. I'm more just thinking about like what's above, what's below that horizon line stuff. Maybe there's like maybe this is like a sort of ruined bit of wall, you know, with some vines, stuff kind of growing on it. You can have some birds in here. Gotta have the birds. To get straight lines, I'll like hold shift. Yeah, paint lines, hold shift. I'm sort of thinking about whether maybe we just don't have that going all page, but playing around with getting into a little bit of design, but not too much. But yeah, so you get the idea, right? You can just build up these little paintings very quickly. So then what I'm going to do is I just put this in like a group. So I just select those two layers, put it in a group, and then that one's kind of like just there by itself. Just call this like thumb 01, right? And then this next one, right? Just do the same thing. New group. Yeah, we can just start this one in the group. That's fine. This new layer, right? And then just paint. Start painting. Actually, one thing. Sometimes what I'll do is I didn't explain that before. I just started doing gradients, right? But a lot of times I'll start with like a gradient. So just in, and because we're just dealing with values, I can make the foreground darker. I can play around with lighting and stuff as well, but just trying to keep this like really simple for you guys. Get that, you know, water's reflecting the sky. That's always going to be that kind of sky tone as well. So I'm just picking some of those tones from there. And then I'll just start offsetting these values a little bit, just getting them to separate out from the sky, right? So that's important because sky is always going to be the lightest value, least elements in the sky anyway. Right, so I just want to have these things just popping out from that background touch, right? And that's kind of like, that's sort of like step one, you know? And then as we come forward, just like, just darkening bits. Let my sketch kind of hold it together for the time being until I start losing those, oh, geez, Cody in here. Just start losing those, the lines of the sketch, right? Yeah. So like I said, keeping it nice and simple, build up, you know, build up the design, get into 3D, make stuff really complicated then. But yeah, now it's cool. Getting some accents there with values. Right, and then as I just hone back this line work, then yeah, I can just keep starting to separate shapes, right? Look at our amazing, oh, painting on the wrong layer there. Oops, don't do that. Right. Got these horse guys, yep. Remember, like I said, they just start, if I'm probably doing this properly, I'm not like drawing these so crap at the start, but I want to show you guys like how you can just draw them really rough, and you can just don't get kind of like too nervous about it, and yeah, and just add that in. So yeah, that kind of question where like, yep, any tips with someone with OCD neatness and has a hard time, just do this. Just like, it starts with a sketch, right? You can do sketch as neat as possible if you want. You can do it with a line tool and make it, you know, like, you do it so it's like, oh, not like that. Save those custom shapes for later. But, you know, like, you could do it like this, right? Where it's like, extremely neat. Alright, if you want, it doesn't matter. Just get that sketch in there and then just start painting underneath the sketch. And that'll stop you from kind of like freaking out about it, right? So, because yeah, I know like I used to kind of be the same where I used to be the same where I'd kind of like had to really have that sketch first. So a lot of times I'll just start going in by painting, but I wanted to show you guys this process from real scratch where yeah, you just start kind of coming up with an idea, really rough sketching, and then just continually stop painting. What am I doing now? No. And on this layer, yeah, and you just bit by bit just start building up all these elements. So, and I guess a good way to describe this is that any of these shapes could be kind of cut out pieces of paper, right? So they're just a shape. And you know, at the start they're just a blobby shape, and then just kind of like cut and carve back into them. So maybe some of these things are like statues and things like that. You know, we want to still get some of this like medievalness. Things. Yeah, and then sometimes I'll just hide it like that. Just take it off, but just keep working on this. I'm on the wrong layer, am I? Yep. Oops. No, so question is, do I have a palette for my values? Or you just use the 50% rule of values for that? You can move the slide. No, I'm not doing any of that. I'm just going like, I just started with that gradient, remember? And that kind of just gave me that like base. And then, yeah, and then I just started picking values off of that base, right? And then I'm just painting them. So as things come forward, they get darker. As they recede, they get lighter. But once again, I don't, without sort of really sitting here and dissecting like a ton of reference, I don't know exactly what these shapes are going to do or be just yet. But we are going to kind of go through and dissect the reference. I'm just trying to get these little sketches just blocked in, and then move on to that kind of like design phase. But yeah, and then I could do things like, okay, do I want it darker? Do I want it lighter? That kind of stuff. So a good thing you can do is like go to the top of this, do a new layer, and just set it to soft light. Soft light. And then what I can do is doing this thing anyway. Then I can sort of like drag over like gradients and stuff, but like these values will kind of hold together, right? I might even be able to set it to like multiply, say, right? But then when I do a multiply, it's going to go really dark really fast. So then I can just like kind of play with that, right? And do little kind of gradient overlays to things, and kind of mess around with lighting and stuff like that as well. So it could be, you know, if we want to have, you know, some of this in the light, play around with those shapes. Right, kind of, yeah, muck around with various bits and pieces. Whatever, you know, just pushing these things more and more. I'm certainly, we're not going to be getting into Blender today. There is a lot of stuff to do before we're going to get into Blender. So like, as in, there's so much stuff I want to work out before I even touch that. So yeah, I guess it's kind of like just slowing yourself down with that kind of process. It's good to be doing all of the yeah. I like this, Jaden. I know where you're going with these questions, but and it's kind of like a similar thing that you got right now, Jaden, where it's like it's cool, it's great, like everyone learn all the Blender stuff, go, you know, like do all those things, but like the biggest thing you've got to kind of work on is like kind of the design, the painting, you know, all of those kind of like traditional foundational stuff. Like, yeah, it's really hard. It's really hard, but we'll just keep kind of going through process after process and kind of, yeah, kind of working that out. So yeah, as you see here, I just keep going through and kind of yeah. So Jane, yeah, you can do a photo study, right? Yeah, but yeah, you kind of get the idea. So where this is going. So we've got this one, right? Slightly different. This one's a darker one. This one's kind of a lighter one, right? Let's do another one now. Oh, do that. Have we got this one here? Let's make a group, make a new layer, and we've got it. So once again, I'm just going to start. You can see how I've got this selection. Just kind of always have that selection up. So just once again, it's kind of like fill. Just giving it a base, that's all. Foreground, make that nice dark. Palm trees. Start blocking in these shapes. Notice like I'm only using like one layer as well. So just blocking these things in. Sometimes here I'll just pick off the picture a little bit. Right. Just want to have those subtle changes there in the background. Here. Buildings here on the left. You can see as you block in these values and things. Yeah. Jaden asked if I'm using Pure Ref on the other screen. No, I'm using File Explorer. Pretty amazing. Yeah. What a noob. It's more just the fact I'm an old fart. What's pure ref? No. For those of you that want to know what I'm talking about, is you can get a program called Pure Ref, which is great for like having reference. It's really good. I just got just haven't done it. Whatever. Leave me alone. Don't hate me. All right. All right. Trees. I don't know. Maybe this is like there's like statues in here or something. And there's more trees at the bottom. So I'm just kind of making up stuff, designing as I'm going along. Right. Yeah, but some bits and pieces kind of in the water that just help scale and size and things like that. Go in again. As I'm going to get it to a certain point. Because these guys are so good. So good. Okay. And just make 100%. Alright. So yeah, as I go through, I just kind of like sort out these values. You know what else I should do? I should save. There we go, and I kind of like to always keep this stuff pretty zoomed out, so you'll notice that really not zooming in much at all. Right. I'll just somebody just came to the stream asking what I'm drawing. We are doing castles mixed with Egypt. That is the best way to describe it. Can you guys see how like I kind of found like a little happy accident there? So basically, I could see a mix of value ranges, and I just go like, oh, I could actually get another little overlap, you know. And overlaps are like super important. So yeah, just always trying to find those little happy accidents that can become those overlapping shapes, and they will give you so much depth in your paintings, right? The more shapes that you can create that overlap, the more depth you'll get. And little happy accent there. When we've got some light hits this side of that building, whatever. Just really, shorthanding some of those things. Don't know what some of that stuff is yet, but I feel that as a kind of like get into shapes more and kind of designing this up, those things will start to come together. Oscar says I'm doing horses. Yeah, they're real bad horses. Can't even tell what they are. My son's really into horses, so if I stuff them up, I'll be in big trouble. He'll tell me the anatomy's wrong on that one. You didn't do that leg's not long enough. Blah 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 blah. Look at the bridle and blah blah blah. I don't even know anything about horses. He's like an encyclopedia. Good to know. Yeah. More plants. Thought they were camels. Yeah. They just look like. I can't say what they actually look like because I'll get banned from Twitch. They just don't look good. We'll work on them. Alright. But yeah, you get the idea, right? That we're just kind of blocking in these value ranges. You can see like as I turn that line way down, things are kind of reading nice and clear as a nice value painting. Play again. So yeah. So that's my little trick to like how to just get into painting, right? See here, I just start. It's kind of why the texture brush is kind of cool. Like, this is one of those things where like people go like, "What brush are you using?" And it's like, oh, the default answer is like, oh, it doesn't matter what. You know, it's not about the brush. When you kind of get into painting, it is somewhat about the brush because like some of these little moments of texture shifts and value change will really give me like a whole new overlap, a whole new shape. They'll maybe, you know, dictate something that I hadn't kind of thought of when I was drawing things out, you know. So so they can really be important. So what I'm thinking here is there's some pieces of land that kind of rotate around, not rotate, but act like that kind of C curve that I was telling you guys about at the start, right? So you see there how it really pushes my eye, you know, to wherever I want kind of the focal point to be. Oops. Making a selection. Oops. Let's invert it. Something. Just thinking a little bit about where this kind of focal point could be and stuff. Sometimes a nice thing to do is like you can kind of add a lot of your lighting and stuff like in that focal point where you really want people to look at. And the reason for that is because it creates contrast. So our eye is attracted to contrast. So we want to create that highest area of contrast where we want the eye to look. We can just do lots of little dibbly dobbly bits. Right, you can see that pretty clearly there. Just thinking like maybe there's some sort of construction-y kind of stuff. In this one. So a bit of a question, like how do you go mixing kind of like two elements together? Well, I mean, I think once again it's that reference, right? So it's just I'm just looking at this stuff here, and I can see they're the kind of shapes. So I'm thinking about these big, you know, these kind of like triangular style buildings. They really feel like that Egypt kind of thing to me. Also, like kind of, you know, like on the River Nile with the palm trees and that kind of stuff. That feels like my mind's eye picture of Egypt kind of temples, castles, you know, that kind of stuff. And then obviously I've got like medieval stuff in the reference here, and kind of little bits of ground business and castles and different shapes and rock statue structures. So even just in this little reference photo, I get a lot of visual kind of ideas that I can kind of put in these paintings. Yeah. And then what you do is like you build up your visual library of stuff. And the bigger visual library of things that you have, the easier it is to paint. To draw, to paint, design, whatever. Because then you don't have to look at reference as much, right? So it's great, 100% great. Always working off reference, right? But the more that you can build that visual library, the easier things become. you know, because it's always faster to draw things from imagination, right? So you want to do a mix of that kind of stuff. I'm just thinking about even some of those curves in here, but yeah. All right, so you get the point. So very quickly, so within an hour, we've spoken about the project for a little bit, right? So in a nutshell, Egypt crossed with medieval, you know, story idea, alternate universe where these cultures have mixed, kind of like Game of Thrones in Egypt. What's our unique point of interest? So I guess our unique point of interest could be like really big Egyptian architecture, you know, combined with, you know, medieval construction kind of stuff. Visual style, we're going to go with realistic. So I'm sort of like, you know, I guess kind of not stylizing these things, just really basing old reference and keeping those shapes fairly realistic. Gathering reference, so gathered lots of reference. So you guys could do that. Really make sure you get that reference for what it is you want to do, right? And then think about these deliverables. So yeah, so we're heading in a good direction with this already. So we got 1, 2, we got 3. So I might even just do this. I'm going to paste all these here for a sec. Give me a second. These. I used Control Shift D, and that should kind of transform them all the same size. This. Right, so anyway, there we go. So we've got some thumbnails. They're all kind of pretty, they're all sort of, you know, similar because we're doing them in the same kind of world. As you can see, like, kind of bringing in more ideas to each of them as they kind of go along. This one's still pretty rough. This one's getting a little bit more refined, and this one was, you know, off to a good start. So, yeah, I think that we'll sort of go for something like this, which kind of, they've all got the same sort of elements because I'm just basing off the same sort of reference, right? Yeah, so now let's just go through and start kind of like working on the design phase of things, which I think at this point in time is probably going to take a little while, right? So that's where we really got to start getting in and looking at reference and trying to work out, you know, some of these shapes. So I guess what I want to do is I want to work out things so I can go into 3D Coat. So I'm going to use a program called 3D Coat, and I'm going to kind of like sculpt a lot of these elements out. But I want to kind of work out what they are first. So yeah, this can, you know, this sort of part of the process will take a little while, but let's just start. So once again, I'm looking at the reference here. I'm just going to drag out my canvas. So a bit bigger here. All right, cool. So let's look at reference. All right, just going through. It's probably bring this over here so you guys can kind of see what I'm looking at. I thought this one was really cool, right? This sort of like, to me, this kind of has like this feeling of medieval versus Egyptian. It just feels like that. So let's like open this, and a lot of times what I'll do is like once I've got a few images in a reference folder, I can always like reverse image search that stuff later. So yeah, bring in some of these references. What else? What we got here? Where we're going to kind of like design some stuff. I think this one's another good one. So this is where I'm kind of like, I didn't really paint any of those kind of like, I don't really paint any of these sort of rounded shapes and things, right? But that doesn't mean it can't be in there. So, yeah. Yeah, guys. Yeah, we're gonna save all this stuff out, right? So, yep. So you can watch it back. What else? Let's go back into here, reference folder. So stuff's good. Sort of we're mixing. I don't know. There's some of this is not necessarily like Egyptian, but it's kind of heading into the right mix of things, I think. Some ideas here. Let's just go with some cool stuff. I'll save that for later. Alright, so again, let that last one go. Put that one in here. Alright. So yeah. So you can see that we've got a few bits and pieces here. So let's just kind of start designing with this. And once again, like I kind of almost stay zoomed out as well. Just so I can really think about these things here. Let's just merge all of this stuff down. Yeah, if you do have any like Photoshop questions or anything, just please ask. Happy to kind of like go over anything. There's no question too dumb or silly or like anything like that. Just ask away. So what I'm going to do here is by default when you're in Photoshop, comes up with the rectangle tool. This is set to shape, and you kind of drag this out, and it's like, oh my god, what's going on? Properties box is popping up, and this is like a what? All this stuff going on, right? So let's undo all that. Okay, just hold your cursor on the rectangle tool, and you'll scroll down. You get the line tool, right? And from the line tool, all sorts of stuff going on here. Alright, so then I use the line tool, but I set it to, instead of it being set to shape, I change that to pixels there. Now in other versions of Photoshop, this can be located in a different area, but there will always be an option to change it to pixels. And then what's cool is I can just drag that out, just drag out another one. I can like erase it. I can draw on top of it with the brush, right? So basically, like you can draw straight lines using the line tool. Really cool. And for me, I just find this is a really fast, like, once again, not having to like get it really perfect. It's just I just find this a really great way to just kind of like come up with ideas and develop shapes and stuff, right? And kind of we'll do this. We'll show you. All right. Now, square bracket keys, like the right one and the left one. Square bracket keys right will make your brush size bigger. It will also make this line thicker. Square bracket size down, right, will make it smaller, thinner. Same with brush. I've had some students before, they're like, I can't do the line tool, right? It's just coming out as a square. And I'm like, that's because you just made the size of it 175 pixels, right? So that does, these things do happen. So alright, so just gonna make this like 2 pixels. Right, and I'm just gonna start. I'm gonna start doing whatever. Actually, another way I do this, let's scratch all that. Let's go up here. Let's do like a hard brush. Whatever, just any old brush. Alright, that'll do. I'll show you another trick. So they're not tricks, Photoshop techniques. You go up here, there's like a Symmetry Tool, which is really cool. Just set it to vertical, and it's going off some other place here in Photoshop, so it's alright. So we're just gonna just go grab it. You get this. Move it over here. Alright. This is pretty cool. So if you just hit enter, it'll make like a magical line there. And then if I use the if I just start drawing, it'll draw with like symmetry, which is once again really cool for kind of designing stuff. It just it'll make things kind of move pretty quickly. I think this is kind of cool. We mix this medieval stuff. Maybe. Takes a bit of time, you know, just looking at those references. You'll see that this stuff will this stuff will exponentially kind of expand as I keep pushing, you know, the designs of things. You'll see anyway. Just bear with it. Once again, it will kind of like, it'll look like a bit of a slow process, but it will kind of really speed up as we start moving along. What's cool is like the eraser will kind of do the same thing. So the way that I'm getting a straight line there is I'm holding shift. Alright, so I'm let's just block out some ideas. Alright, no stress, just do it. Alright, what I'm going to do here is more canvas, please. Oops. Oh, yeah, I don't like this in Photoshop. How it makes it hard to grab stuff and move it. Anyway, whatever. Alright, let's just imagine it back in the center. Close enough. Alright, so I've got that one over there. I'm just going to keep kind of like riffing off this. You know, just like some medieval kind of like bitty bobs details. You know, once again, it's kind of like, let's just go with that, like the overall feeling of it, right? And then the overall. Wait, no. Hey. Whoa. Copy's not. That's weird. Okay. Copy. Paste. Oh. Okay. Photoshop's being weird. Whatever. We'll proceed. Yep. What did I do? Am I in quick mask or something? Yep. No. Something. Oh. Yeah, I'm not sure. Anyway, I'll just keep drawing here. So, looking at the reference. I can see there's some sort of like, just thinking about, there's some markings and stuff, on here, kind of bits. I don't know what that is yet. Can flesh all that kind of out. Yeah. So you can see the question about PaintStorm Studio. Yeah, I have no idea. I don't know. I just use Photoshop. I've used Photoshop for way too long to try anything else. So yeah. Alright. But I've heard there's plenty of good free kind of stuff out there. I do use Procreate a bit on the iPad and stuff, which is really cool. So yeah. Alright. Let's think that also I want to have. I'm just going back to my medieval reference here for a sec. And I want like some kind of like spire reference kind of stuff. Maybe it is just this one here that I had. No, I want yeah. Maybe something like this. Let's see if we can paste this one in. Yeah. See how that goes. Alright. And because I'm thinking about like maybe I want some kind of like spire type of design. So let's just once again just you can do this. Just go like vertical, right? And then it'll give you another one, and then you can just put it where you want it. So you don't have to always draw it in the same place. Cool. Yeah. So you kind of get how powerful this stuff can be, right? And then what we can do is we can make all these little bits and pieces in 3D code. Right, and really flesh out this design where we can have these Egyptian bits mixed with turn what I was talking about. Egyptian mixed with medieval. We can do it. Right, so this is how you can really start that kind of like design process. And I could have, maybe even on this stuff here, we're kind of mixing some, like Egyptian kind of markings and things as well. So that would be good too, to kind of mix it back into the medieval stuff, right? So kind of really getting a mix of both of those kind of design languages. But like, that's pretty cool. Oops. Right, we can start adding that to some of these things. So I'm going to just I just want to flesh out more kind of shapes. We can do this as well. Transform symmetry. So, and then I can just drag it to where I might want it to go next. So, once again, maybe those caps, I don't want them too, if I make them like super wide, they'll start looking a bit kind of sci-fi, which is kind of cool, but that's not the intention of this. This, what I can do sometimes is because I kind of stuffed up this symmetry here, is just go grab this, duplicate it, Command Control J, flip it, flip horizontal, right, and then I just just paste that back and just make sure that it's kind of in the middle, otherwise that symmetry is still not gonna work. Using the arrow keys just to move across, right? So I'm just trying to develop some of these shapes. Look at the reference. See what's here. We're gonna have things. There, here we've got some spires on the edge. Sometimes I'll be kind of particular with things. Other times I'll just be kind of just really rough, just trying to come up with ideas, right? Move that down. Then we've kind of got another little design here. Okay, let's just try and get some of these medieval kind of shapes working. Symmetry. Bring it over here. So I guess you can see overall, this is going to be a big process to kind of get this painting done. No, I guess the end product is going to be like a painting, right? So it's going to take some time, but that's okay, because that's what I think is kind of cool about this Twitch setup, is that we can take time, work on all this stuff, learn it together, develop a cool little project. So that's where I'm what would be kind of cool is if you guys kind of you know, got your own little project that you're kind of working on. So you can have some crazy details and stuff maybe in some of these things. Sometimes things are going to work, sometimes they're not going to work. I'll do some of these little some of these other little spires as well. I'm doing all these separate elements because I know that like I'll be able to kind of use these to make other pieces as well. Yeah. Play from Windows. With the patterning, I'm not that like I need to kind of like I need to work on like the patterns and stuff, right? But I'm not. I'm just kind of like, oh yeah, it'll just be this crisscross thing, but it'll be something else. I just to work on. Just keep being patient, designing that stuff up. Get some of these like kind of other medieval style shapes as well. So all of these kind of things I'm thinking are going to be elements that I'm going to kind of build in 3D. And then once I've got them in 3D, then we can kind of like almost like kind of kit bash them together. Maybe one of those kind of shapes, just some, yeah. There's a very good question, which is, would you say learning 3D modeling is essential for modern day concept artwork? Yes. Do you want the long or the short answer? The long answer is yes, and the short answer is yes. Yeah, it's just, you just have to, like, whatever you're doing, even if you're doing character, whatever, it's just really useful to know. Whether that becomes like an integral part of your workflow, that is debatably a different answer, right? But, you know, do you kind of really need it? Or at least know about it? Yeah, 100%. I mean, pretty much everything that you're working towards these days is 3D. I don't know what I'm doing here. This is kind of like a useless waste of time. We can just make a crappy looking building in 3D. Not really designing anything there, right? Just sometimes you get caught up in silly details. Yeah, so it's obviously really really important that you know 3D, or at least have a good understanding of it, right? So that you can help out kind of in the pipeline and use it for concept art. Even just you might be doing a level paint over or something, so just being able to open things up in a 3D program, exporting things out to different programs, all that kind of stuff is just really helpful. Maybe what I could do with this thing is like this one here is sort of like let's keep this. Let's not let this go to waste. What am I transforming? Oh, my symmetry was over there. Off. It's just I feel that these days you want to be like an image maker. Like you want to be able to make images. So you want to really be able to leverage anything at all that can help you do that. Does that make sense? So 2D, if it's 3D, if it's drawn sand, if it's I don't know, paper mache, if it's you kind of know what I mean, right? Like you just want to use all of those tools. The one thing here is just like maybe this is the shape that I can kind of leverage in painting. Just think about sort of shapes, how these are put together. It's okay. This is just all informing those things. So maybe in this one here, this is where we're going to have like some medieval kind of pattern stuff. I'm just going to do, right, just kind of from memory, just to remember. So I guess why I'm doing this, right, there's a reason for this, is because what I need to do is kind of like go away and find more references for kind of medieval patterns and build up the visual library for what it is I want to do. So more Egyptian stuff, more medieval stuff, like what is it that I want things to exactly look like. So at the moment I'm just kind of exploring these sort of basic shapes, and then you just want to build up that visual library more and more so that you can just keep kind of adding stuff. But I feel that we're starting to head in a decent direction with some of these bits and pieces. Where did I do that? Oh yeah, this one. So this is a good one. A bit more height for this. So canvas is getting like gigantic. Let's just flesh out more of this. Yep, fine, working. Work, please. So let's go back to this layer here, or even just being a bit rough with some of this. Transform this and just start using some of these shapes. just to roughly start kind of getting like some layouts and stuff. So like as you can see here, I suppose if you look back at the thumbnails, you know, I can tell that like, you know, these kind of pieces and stuff are going to be put together with, you know, these kind of Egyptian angled shapes, plus also kind of like the spires and things. So I probably need to do like a couple of different options of spires. But for now, this will kind of do. So yeah, you can see like this. So what I'm thinking here is just trying to get the kind of scale right between the shapes. So sort of have like big, medium, and small shapes. So I want this to kind of be like the real hero piece. So we could even, maybe that's even kind of wider. Right, so you can just see how this like kind of design starts to like evolve. Right, so I start off with just this really simple little shape, and now these pieces are all starting to evolve, right? So and then what's cool in 3D is like you can kind of really like layer everything up, build it up so you get a lot of complexity. So we can get, so we can get, yeah, these kinds of areas of complexity with like buildings coming forward, buildings receding, you know, twisting things around, having them on different rotations, things like that, which is really cool. So yeah, I think this is kind of heading in the right direction here. Once again, I guess sometimes you gotta have a bit of faith in the process, like all this, you know, because these are just crappy looking sketches, but all of this stuff is going to kind of turn out well. Yeah. So what I might start to do here is I can start to flesh out some of this stuff, I think, because I think this will be kind of the direction that we're going in here, I think. So, sorry, I'm just looking at references, kind of thinking, rather than trying not to have too much dead air time on the stream, but yeah. What I might do again is just bring up this here. Oops, that transform. Put this back here. Oh. So let's look up so let's look up kind of like Egyptian shapes, maybe, right? Maybe it's something like stone. Here we go. This is the kind of stuff, right? That I'm kind of looking for. And what's really cool is one of the reasons why I'm doing all of this stuff now, and I'm spending like a lot of time kind of doing this, is that I will be able to use 3D Code to kind of like I'll be able to draw this stuff in Photoshop and kind of extrapolate it out using 3D Code, which is like really fast. So, and to me that feels like a bit more of a drawing process rather than like a really heavy kind of like 3D business going on, which I kind of like. So yeah, so I'll show you where this kind of can be worthwhile. Oops. What I'm going to do here is once I get some of these, copy and paste, copy and paste. I can kind of start getting through some of this stuff pretty quickly. Does it look like? Might need to find some reference for exactly what I want these to be like, but yeah, we can just whatever this is going to be. Keep fleshing that out. Once again, like I said, I'll make sure that I don't go away and kind of like do stuff outside of the stream. I'll keep all this stuff, all the work I'm doing this in the stream, so that you guys can just see that like full process. What I might do is just like find references. History. Yep. What I might do is kind of like find references and do that when I'm not in the stream, just so it doesn't suck up too much time just looking around on the internet. Yeah, hieroglyphics. Yes, that is it. And what I think I'll do is like kind of combine that with some medieval kind of design language as well. I get a bit annoyed when these things aren't even. Move this around. I'm not stressing out that this is not quite right on the other side, because I'll get some ways to fix that. Just, once again, going through this whole design process. So what I'll kind of do later is like make some stencils of this stuff, and then we'll bring this into 3D Coat and kind of extrude out geometry using the stencils, which is really cool. Yeah, there's a lot of really cool programs that you can use. With so many different solutions to all sorts of different stuff. It's like a really exciting time for you guys, moving into the whole concept art kind of world. Even like, you know, viz dev for animation, TV. Yeah, so many exciting things that you can kind of do. Some other lines. Just repeating some of this stuff around. And what I'll actually do is like, I'll actually take some of this stuff into 3D, build in the bigger shapes, and then once I know the bits that I actually need to come up with for like stencils and things, then I'll sort of come back into Photoshop and yeah, work out that stuff. Just trying to slowly kind of work this stuff out. Some sort of doorway down the bottom. Maybe this has some of that kind of some of that sort of shape language mixed with this, heavy Egyptian kind of stuff. That's like my go-to note of pattern. Just triangles. Try and get some of these secondary, tertiary shapes in. I'm thinking these can be kind of like cut lines. And as I get into 3D Coat, it'll be a sort of like combination of like building up big blocks of shape and then coming back in and designing elements. But yeah, so it starts off looking pretty crappy. You just kind of like build this up, and you can imagine like this stuff. I need to get in a good direction, but you can imagine this stuff kind of getting mixed in with this here, right? And then all of these bits getting fleshed out, and pretty quickly we're going to have like a big giant city. we can make look pretty realistic. There's a few questions here. So saying about feel like if it gets to a stage where the design is finalized and then there are key elements already confirmed, would then go into 3D software, block out the shapes of the buildings to get a sense of perspective and depth. Oh yes, yep. So that's definitely what we're going to be doing. Yep, and a person, putting a person next to these can be great, you know, for scale. Like, I mean, to me, even the doorway is useful, right? Like, even this doorway here is kind of useful for scale because you've got, you know, person, right? Person kind of there. So it really does kind of like help with that kind of stuff. So I actually think that maybe this stuff could be a bit higher. No, this side. Oops, sorry. Alright, and one thing I'll do is like, because I knew that this stopped being kind of like centered, so you can do this kind of thing here. Actually, make this bit disappear. Kind of don't mind some of this, some of these shapes just in there. Maybe no, maybe not. So I know that I kind of lost the symmetry in here at some point. So what I'll do is kind of do this. And copy and paste this all onto a new layer, right? And then I'll just flip horizontal, just drag that across and make it match kind of in the middle, right? And then it gives me a kind of like nice clean design. But I can already feel like it's starting to feel like that sort of mix of Egyptian versus medieval. So yeah, it's kind of cool. So yeah, digital painting books. Not necessarily digital painting books, but yeah. So yeah, Nathan already answered that. James Gurney books, excellent. Yeah, framed ink. Scott Robertson, How to Draw. All those books are really good. There's also one called you might be able to find this, Nathan, Edgar Payne's Guide to Outdoor Compositional Painting, something like that. That's a really good book as well, for kind of like composition stuff too. Yeah, and just tons of stuff on like Gumroad. Look up like Eitan Zana, just James Pack, Eitan Zana, John Park, all of those guys that are going to show all this stuff as well. So I think we're almost winding up towards the end of the stream, but I really hope that you guys can see, how this stuff, they can start kind of leveraging a lot of this to kind of create unique and interesting designs. So yeah, maybe we've got some of these spires going on here as well. Yep, and I've got like probably use these like different types of spires as well, but what I really like to do is kind of like iterate. So just keep pushing the design, keep moving it forward. right? Making it cooler and cooler, better and better. So let's like kind of, what I kind of mean by that is let's take this and kind of like paste it up onto this one. Yeah. Yeah. Does this sort of make sense? They can just kind of keep leveling up all of these elements. And just grab that whole thing, flip it. Pretty cool, right? See how this starts getting really fast because I'm starting to really develop these shapes really quickly. Let's symmetry. There's another spire kind of columns attached to some of these windows. Yeah, and this stuff can come together really quickly. So once again, you go from like this really crappy, just rough thing, but giving the idea for the shape and a bit of the design, and then yeah, sort of like get these like looking pretty complicated, right? And then we can go into, like I said, next week in the stream, I'll take this stuff into 3D Code, start like sculpting it up, and then kind of like getting the sculpts and then working out the details they need and creating like stencils and things, and just building up more and more pieces in 3D. And obviously then we start to think of it as like a 3D shape, which once again adds its own design complexities to it. But I really like designing just like this kind of flat, very simple, just in line, or drawing it, pencil, whatever, but just keeping it flat, and then you can just really like iterate on it, right, and try and like push those shapes further and further. Yeah, so once again, first hour was just kind of working on a bit of a brief. All right, working on a bit of a brief. All right, so if you want to kind of follow along with this yourself, just come up with a bit of a brief. It can be really simple, right? Then kind of the next bit was actually just drawing those little the line work, right? So just doing the line work really quickly, then kind of blocking in these little thumbnails, right? And then starting to think about like, okay, we've got these thumbnails, so what are some designs that I can start kind of developing? And then so next week I'm just going to really focus on the like kind of bringing some of these elements into 3D, focusing on the design of that, and then it won't be till we get back until we get into Blender. When it's into Blender, that's when I'll start kind of once again thinking about the composition of stuff, trying to like piece this all together kind of compositionally. But for right now, it's just kind of like design, then we'll be blocking things in 3D, still really focusing on design. So yeah, I hope that helps, and I think we'll wrap it up. And yeah, we'll see you guys again next week. All right, thank you.